An obsession with cemeteries and death. And what lay beneath the ground. Acquiring a job in a morgue, Nico would cut flesh from the bodies.
Four men have been murdered in this house. The ghosts are coming closer, Mr. Lawrence.
Sometimes eating this raw or taking it home to cook. Gaining the nickname Vampire of Paris for the love of drinking blood.
Four men have been murdered in this house. The ghosts are coming closer, Mr. Lawrence.
This is the interview with Nicolas Claux.
Welcome to Spectral Paranormal Norfolk, UK. Normally I would be in some kind of churchyard, abandoned building or someone's home investigating a paranormal disturbance. Tonight we thought we'd bring you something completely different, way off the scale of what we usually are doing. Tonight we've gone into the depths, the darkest depths. We bring you an interview with a cannibal killer. Have you ever heard of someone called Nicolas Claux? A Frenchman, known as the Vampire of Paris? No? Probably not. Well, we have, and we interviewed him. We wanted to hear why he did the stuff he did, what he's thinking now, and where does he go from here. He's paid his price. He paid the price for the crimes he committed. A serial killer. Yes, he was a cannibal. He ate the flesh from people, and he drinks human blood. Who the hell are we to judge? Well, a lot of people do judge. But tonight, we're staying silent and not judging anyone. We want to hear Nico's story. We want to get his word out there. A man, a talented man, an artist also. And, by the way, if you enjoy this interview, please go and check Nico out, right? On Serial Pleasures, right? His artwork is amazing. Their products are awesome. Go check them out. So while you're sharing a love for Serial Pleasures, why don't you hit the like and subscribe and notification button for Spectral Paranormal Norfolk UK too. Show us some love, because what we're giving you this year, you won't want to miss it. So hit that notification button. So, enough from us, and I bring you, for the first time for Spectral Paranormal Norfolk UK, I bring you an interview with Nico, the Cannibal Killer. Hello.
Hello,
How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. Can you hear me fine?
I can. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this for us anyway, Nico.
My pleasure.
How is France?
Good, good, good. Warm.
Well, it's better than England. We've had such horrible weather. So,
Really?
yeah, it's been awful. But it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. I've been reading lots about you, and, you know, it's an absolute pleasure. So I thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure.
So, I wanted to do this interview where we do like 20 minutes of a bit of a question and answer thing, and then if you could show us a little bit of your collection? That would be amazing.
Definitely.
If that's all right with
Okay.
you.
Yeah, I have things ready, so
Beautiful, thank you. So you've got the name The Vampire of Paris. Can you tell us, for like people in England that don't know much about you, why you have that title?
it's actually British tabloids back in the days. We used that name in a few articles. There was also articles in Bizarre magazine back in the days when it was still for sale in the UK.
Yeah.
But yes, they used that name for my case, that
Yeah.
title. And it was also used by the prosecution during the trial. So because they labeled me a vampire,
Yeah.
so they use that. But I'm not especially fond of the name. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask, how do you feel about people obviously calling you that? Because obviously,
Kind of silly.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, at the end of the day, you are a person just like anyone.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
you know, the past is the past. And, you know, it's what, but I just want to say from a point of me, I take everyone as they are. I don't have any judgment. And yeah, I just wanted to know what you sort of thought about that name, because that is, if you put your name in, that's what comes up, isn't it? So
Yeah, exactly. Plus, criminal nicknames usually they used to sell paper.
yeah,
It sells, so I mean it's always hard to step beyond, and I'd rather be famous for my art, but that's what it is. So yeah.
yes. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about your art and everything, because I've seen this as well. I've also checked out your website, Serial Pleasures. So
Yes,
absolutely amazing what you do. So
thank you.
you're very welcome. Along with that question, obviously, of being the Vampire of Paris, there's obviously been talk that you drank blood, and you still drink blood with, is it your girlfriend that you have now?
Yeah.
And yeah, and I just want to know, is that true or is that false?
Oh yeah. Sometimes it's not an everyday thing, but we
Yeah,
sometimes do that. Yeah. Mhm.
no, that's fair. It's quite for me, who is obviously, I'm fascinated with the whole vampire thing, and it's quite a romantic thought, really. It's a
Yeah.
romantic process.
It's called phlebophagy.
Yeah,
Phlebophagia. Sorry, it's the clinical term for that.
yeah,
And depending on the people who you ask,
yeah,
some will tell you it's about the taste, some others it's about the texture, some will tell you it's about the color, or some will tell you it's about it's a spiritual experience.
yeah.
So there's so many aspects to it, and so I can understand that most people are shocked by this,
Yeah.
but it's just a fetish like many others.
Exactly. And again, it's something that I don't judge on, because I just find it a very romantic, like you're saying, there's different aspects to it. There's obviously the color, the taste, but for me, it's quite a romantic idea, really, in a way, isn't it? So
Yeah,
what
true.
what's more nicer than sharing something that gives you life at the end of the day?
Exactly.
So again, along with many titles that you've owned, I think recently I've seen that there's a Cannibal title.
Mhm.
And for many people around England, the question on everybody's lips is, what does human flesh taste like?
My experience was very specific because when I used to do this, I was a morgue technician.
Yeah.
So I used to work in a morgue
Yeah.
when I was 22. And one of the things that I did in the morgue was to stitch the bodies after the autopsies. And well, it's a long story because many things happened before in my life, and I was in a very dark place back then.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did when I was left alone doing this was to actually pick up a few strips of flesh and taste them.
Right.
And I kind of developed some kind of addiction to it.
Yeah.
Not a physical addiction like being addicted to drugs or whatever, but more of I was addicted to the rush of doing it.
Yeah.
It was a yeah it was a spiritual experience, and the more I did it, and the more I realized that I could get away with it if I erased my tracks behind. There was ways of leaving the bodies more or less in a way that people who would handle the bodies after the autopsy would not realize that there was some bits missing.
Yeah.
It was not huge bits, but tiny strips of flesh
Yeah.
and tissue. So I would sometimes bring them home and try different things in terms of cooking.
Yeah.
So I cooked and I tried different things, and it all last. It all went like this for about 6 months,
Yeah.
and then I went to do something else, and I was arrested for something that had nothing to do with this, but it was a murder case. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, that again, if you put your name in, we can see everything about that too. But obviously, I'm not gonna. This interview isn't about that. We're here to get to know the Nico of now,
Yeah.
and obviously not then, because past is past, as I said.
I think about the cannibal thing is that since it's so different
Yeah.
from many murder cases, even cannibal cases, because most cannibal cases, people who actually kill their victim and eat them.
Yes.
So my case was really different because it was this weird experimentation I was doing when I was working in that specific environment. And before that, I had this obsession with graveyards and dead bodies. So I was also accused of grave robberies and something like that. So for people, it was this very macabre environment, which for me wasn't macabre at all. It was my everyday obsessions.
Yeah.
Okay. And, people often describe the place where I used to live when I was a teenager. When they searched my apartments, they found plenty of different things in my apartment,
Yeah.
and plenty of remains and blood bags and skulls and bones, etc. What you have to understand is back in the days, it was the early 90s. Maybe this was very, very, very unusual. But nowadays, there's lots of people who have, skulls and bones at home,
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it kind of makes me smile sometimes when I read the comments about my case, and people are so focused on that.
Yeah.
My apartment back then, of course, it was, very macabre, all those things. But, nowadays it's home deco. You see what I mean?
Yes.
I know plenty of people who have those kind of things at home. So, but yes, it's true that since I had actually not, I did not buy the bones. Obviously, I stole them. So
Yeah.
that was made the case so special. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very unique. They're not like where we can go and buy them in the shops and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just unique.
Exactly. But
uh,
nowadays on the internet, you can find anything. You have to be just aware of the local legislation, what
yeah.
you can do. For example, when you live in Europe, it's totally legal. When you live in Belgium, to sell and buy human remains, it's in
Yeah.
the law. So, but on the other hand, there's countries where it's totally illegal. So, yeah,
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's actually really interesting. It's
yeah,
just different cultures as well, isn't it? So
exactly.
yeah. So with along that, do you have any regrets from the past at all, or do you think it has made you into the person that you are today?
Yes, regrets, yes, of course, for the pain that was caused, and not only to the victim, but also my family, because what you have to take into consideration is also the way it affected those who surrounded me back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so there was all those things that happened. It was like a domino effect. When you take a life, it's like drilling a hole in the very core of the universe.
Yeah.
There's so many things that happen because of it.
Exactly.
So you actually do something that destroys the natural order of things.
Yeah.
So there's consequences, not only physical and not only social and moral, spiritual too.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of that and understand that what you did cannot be fixed,
Yeah.
okay? But at the same time, you have to learn about what made you do the things you did and accept your inner demons. And this is basically the story of my life, acceptance,
Yeah.
accepting my dark sides, my demons, which are really strong. Normally my dharma, the dharma is a Indian concept. It's similar to karma. Dharma is more or less the things you are intending to do during your life.
Yeah.
For example, someone who's a born leader might become a successful businessman or maybe a president or whatever. And there's dharmas for people who are very destructive.
Right.
Okay, and
Okay.
if they deviate from that dharma, bad things happen. And it's about accepting your destructive nature when you're born like that, and when there's no other way out, and try to find what could be called palliatives,
Okay.
things
Yeah.
you can do that can, feed your demons without actually hurting the people around you.
That's a really interesting, I've never heard of that. So that for me is really interesting how you've explained that. But like you say, it's fighting the inner demons and accepting the inner demons,
Oh
and
yeah,
as I said, you can't fix what's already been done. You've got to accept it,
no.
haven't you? So
You have knowing oneself is one of the most important steps in your life. There's
yeah.
so many people who deny their nature and deny who they are, and they live in all their life in denial of who they are,
Yeah.
and that's what makes them so destructive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a major step to accept your inner self and try to find ways to make them acceptable and make them manageable. That's the term that I could use.
Yeah.
I often compare it to surfing a huge wave, or a very very dark storm in the ocean.
Yeah.
You're surfing the waves, and you try to make it so that the waves don't crush you, and you know so you have to be able to navigate through those very high waves and find your way.
No, no, thank you for explaining that, Nico. Obviously, it's a difficult subject to touch on sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah,
But yeah, I
because
really,
the thing is, you know, I'm beyond morals.
yeah,
Most people who are dealing with people like me, of course, their first response to that kind of energy
yeah,
is to use what their morals tell them,
yeah,
and they use their notions of good and evil, and so they base their judgment on that because it's the easy way to do it.
exactly.
But for an individual like me who's beyond those concepts, for me, there are alien concepts, the concepts of good and evil. I don't know what they are. You have to understand what really drives me. And it's not about me trying to be a better person or a good person or this. It's trying to find a way to deal with the chaos of my life. So I find a way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And would you say that your artwork is sort of a way of you sort of like, putting your life into that artwork that's part of you, isn't it? So it's a way of maybe being creative with it.
Oh yeah, totally. This is something that I actually developed while I was in prison. At first, it was what you call collectors who would write to me, and they were collecting what's called murderabilia.
Yeah.
It's artifacts and drawings and things and letters done by criminals. So there's a scene, there's plenty of collectors who collect that. So I got letters from people who are in that community,
Yeah.
and they were asking for if if I was doing paintings or drawing. So gave me basically the idea to explore that side of me, the creative side. But I didn't want to paint flowers and cats and mountains, and you know. So I painted what I knew best, which was autopsy scenes and morgues and graveyards. And
Yeah.
then I came up with the idea of doing mugshots because I like I always have loved mugshots, because for me they are a true window to the soul of the person who just committed a crime. Because
Exactly.
usually the crime was committed like a few hours before or a few days before. So the person is still in the crime. And in the mugshot, you can actually see the crime reflected in the eyes of the person if you look really well, if you're sensitive to those things.
Well, and you try and obviously capture this in your artwork, obviously. And
Yes.
yeah, I have seen quite a bit of it online, and it's really, really interesting, your artwork. I'm actually
Thank you.
quite a fan. it's
Thank you.
actually, I was going to talk to you a little bit about that, obviously a little bit later. But yes, I have seen it. I'm very impressed with what you do. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So obviously with being in graveyards and me being a paranormal investigator myself, we have that in common. I love graveyards. I work in them a lot.
Okay.
Would you have you been to England before, Nico? Or
I've lived in Colchester for half a year.
yeah, what would you say, like, our cemeteries, our graveyards, compared to your impressive Paris graveyards? They are amazing, by the way. What are your thoughts on the difference? Ours aren't very good, really, compared to what you have over there.
Most of those that I know are in London, Highgate, of course, and Brompton, and a few others, and they're amazing too. There's a thing in common with the French graveyards is that they're heavily influenced by Egyptology
Right.
and Egyptian, because it was a thing When they were built, those big graveyards, it was the 19th century, and Egypt was rediscovered after the Napoleon campaign in Egypt.
Yeah.
So rich people in Europe, all over Europe, wanted to build their own pyramids, and they were heavily influenced in the choice, the choice of funeral art. So there's a lot of Egyptian influences that you can see either in the Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris or in Highgate. There's this circling Highgate with all those vaults, Egyptian symbols on the walls. So you can tell the influence. But yeah, they're quite similar. What I like about English graveyards is maybe they're closer to nature. You can see trees growing everywhere.
Yeah.
This is something that you can see in a few French graveyards, but not all of them. And that's what I like the most about English graveyards.
They're more natural and obviously more with nature, aren't they? They're not built up like
Exactly.
Paris. Yeah, no, I do like that. It's just obviously I love the artwork of some of the monuments and things like that, and the crypts that you can get into, and they're just so amazing, and how they're all put together, all that hard work that's gone into those. It's absolutely beautiful, some of them.
Exactly. It's a lost art because nowadays people, even rich people, they don't really invest in their tomb or their gravestone or their mausoleum.
No.
So it's too bad. It's too bad.
It is, because you're there a long time, so why not make it look amazing and perfect?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But so obviously being in graveyards, doing what we do, is there anything you fear or anything spooky you have ever seen in a graveyard, Nico?
Well, it's the things that I've done in graveyards which might be considered as spooky. So it's not outside influences, it's rather me who was doing those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely on the spooky scale of spookiness, I was at the top, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So yeah, but otherwise, yeah, external things. The most of the things that I paranormal things that happened to me were in abandoned houses.
Okay.
And in particular, in there was a few things that happened when I was exploring the Bay of Telema in Cefalù in Sicily, which was owned by Aleister Crowley. This is where he lived with his cult of followers during the 1920s before moving back to the UK. And the place is abandoned since the 50s. And there was a few paranormal things that happened when I was there. Crowley has been a constant in my life. This is weird because I actually now where I live, there's a house 3 blocks away or 4 blocks away from here, which was a place where he used to go when he went to France, because he had a friend there called Gurdjieff, who was also a magician. And actually, Crowley wrote part of Diary of a Drug Fiend in the town where I live. It's called Fontainebleau. So Crowley had it was one of Crowley's hangouts where I live here.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I also felt very intense things when I visited the house of Armin Meiwes, who's a German cannibal who ate his lover in 2001. The house is still abandoned. It's a huge Gothic mansion in the heart of Germany. And it's been abandoned for 20 years now. And you can actually see some of the things that he used to commit the crime inside the house.
Wow. So they're obviously got that connectivity there, haven't they? They've got that energy still.
Oh yes, definitely. It's one of the most, in terms of energy, it's one of the most energetic. Uh, I don't know if I can use that word, but yeah,
Yeah.
the most powerful place I've ever been to. Yeah.
No, that. Yeah, as I say, I am a paranormal investigator and I can sense spirits and I see things, and you can just feel the energy of an item, especially if it's got some connection to that extent.
Yeah.
Um, you just don't even need to touch it. You can feel the energy coming off it.
Mhm. Definitely.
So do you have, because obviously you have items in your home, do you have energy that comes off those, or
I can show you a few things.
yeah, that's fine.
I was just talking about the house, the Cannibal house in Germany,
Yeah.
and this is the hook
Oh wow.
that was used to hang his victim from. So
Oh,
he tied his feet up to the hook, and he uh, tied him upside down, and he actually butchered him, and he cut him in half. He was inspired by another murderer called Ed Gein, who did the same actually with his victim. And he had seen photos of that crime scene in a true crime book,
yeah.
and he actually was inspired to do the same with his own victim. So he actually used that hook. So I just had to unscrew the hook. It was still on the ceiling, and this, honestly, each time I show it to someone, this hook, they really can feel the vibes coming from that hook. So
Yeah.
yes, in terms of energy and in terms of yeah, pure malevolence. I don't know if I could use that word. That's the holy grail of
That
object.
yeah.
I also own, well, I do have the freezer where I store his victim's meat.
No way.
But yeah, I'm just trying to find a museum for it because it's a huge piece. It's in a storage unit. So my idea is to actually show it to true crime fanatics who
Yeah.
could approach the object. So uh,
Oh,
the thing is, you have to understand all those objects, they were rotting away in that house because there's no roof anymore. Part of it was destroyed by fire. So
yeah.
all those objects, they are, they are fragile. And the idea is to actually save them from destruction and show them in museums or crime shows.
Exactly. Because
So,
although obviously what they've been involved with, they are
yeah,
still a piece of history, aren't they? They're still,
yeah. I
why not?
mean, most crime museums, uh, back in the days, they were owned by the police.
Yeah.
There was a museum for Scotland Yard, I think. Each museum, each country had these police museums with all those objects. But nowadays, well, recently, about 20 years ago, it's been private collectors who opened their own museums.
Wow.
And the objects in those collections, they're way more interesting than those that you can find in those police museums. So there's many different crime museums which have opened recently. So yeah, those objects that I found in the Cannibal house in Germany, they will find a way to inside those museums.
That is brilliant. And when you open it, you have to let us know because we'd love to come and visit.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
So I have, obviously you have all this interesting items from different things. Well, should I say, who is the most interesting person you have ever met, Nico?
Ever met for real or
For real,
exchanged
yeah.
letters? For real. That 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 has to be well, I used to meet a lot of well, a lot. I've met several actors and musicians and people in bands, metal bands, etc. We would go to Paris and I would do some kind of tour of the graveyard because their manager knew me or about me, and it would be a cool thing to do, you know, visiting the catacombs with the Vampire of Paris. So there was a there was this thing going on a few years ago that I was doing. So I met quite a lot of artists, and I really liked hanging out with Sid Haig. He was the guy who played Captain Spaulding in the Rob Zombie movies, House of 1000 Corpse and The Devil's Rejects, and he was a very, very nice nice guy. I actually did a portrait for his wife. Jonathan Davis was from Korn, the band Korn, was another interesting guy that I met. But my all-time favorite was one of my favorite painters, whose name is Joe Coleman. He's from New York. And he does those amazing portraits of serial killers, but not only, he also does portraits of people in all kinds of different, all different kind of pop icons. So his work is in several museums around the world, and he's a very well-known artist. And I really enjoyed spending a couple of days with him in Paris. He was a very, very interesting person to talk with, and he really gave me a lot of advice on my art and how to develop certain aspects on my art. So I'm really thankful for that. Yeah.
That is brilliant. That's amazing that you've met so many interesting people as well, especially obviously someone that you get on with so well with art as well, which obviously is something that you're really good.
What I like to meet is creative people.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that I can understand. And maybe, you know, there are many people, creative people, who are kind of fascinated with murderers, because for them it's, you know, the hands that destroy can also create. It's that kind of logic. So you can easily connect when you've done this in your life. You can easily connect with people who are creative.
That's right.
It's weird, but it's like that. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And also, along with artwork, you're also an author, aren't you? You've written books, and one obviously is famously the Cannibal Cookbook.
Yeah, this I have it here.
Brilliant. And again, what is your favorite recipe out of the whole thing?
I like steak tartare. It's raw meat. So there's a steak tartare recipe that I like. There's a carpaccio recipe that I like too. It's based on the plane crash that happened in the Andes in the 70s. And the survivors had to actually cut up their friends who had died during the crash, and they had to eat them because they had to survive. They were in the middle of the winter in the mountains, and there was no rescue team coming for them. So that's a recipe that's based on that plane crash and the things that happened. But there's also plenty of other recipes. I haven't tried them all.
No, you have to try them all. You put it in there now, Nico. You've got to try them.
Exactly. I have to do a cooking show on my channel, because I have a channel too, and I should definitely do a cooking show.
Oh wow! So what is the name for your channel for our viewers, so we can obviously
Cereal Pleasures.
Yes. And I'll obviously put the link in so everyone can find it. It's amazing. So again, you're an author, you've got obviously artwork. So would you like to show us some of your collection, Nico, and tell us
what I can show you, because I've worked on it today, is a skull that I did today.
Oh wow.
It's one of the things that I do. So it's half of the skull, usually it's newspaper clips.
Yeah.
So I did several. I did one on John Wayne Gacy, one on Ramirez. This is on Albert Fish.
Oh wow, yes. Oh, that is,
So the guy who commissioned me this is in a band, and that's the name of the band here that I wrote on the
that
forehead. And the other half is like another anatomical skinless écorché. That's yeah, that's how we call it in France. But yeah, those are the skulls that I make.
they are.
Otherwise, I also do coloring books these days
Oh
with my
wow.
girlfriend, Kat. So we do this.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So you can actually color them. It's a coloring book.
I really like coloring books, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
And we just released a new one that I'm going to show you. And it's a first because I haven't even done a video yet.
yeah.
It's for the Valentine's Day. So it's
Oh,
the serial killer pinups
wow.
coloring book.
That is amazing. I may
So
have
there's
to.
there's Jeffrey Dahmer here, as you can see,
Yeah.
and Richard Ramirez here, and Carla Homolka.
Oh,
She was a
wow.
Canadian serial killer. And yes, there's several pinups inside. There's Rosemary West, for example, the rose of the.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, that is brilliant.
So yeah, there's a few. You can find a few coloring books on Amazon, and
Yeah.
this is on Amazon too, by the way. If
Oh, is
'cause
it?
there's two ways of getting it. Either you get it directly from my website, and I can sign it
Yeah.
and do sign it personally, or you can get it on Amazon, but they're not signed, of course.
Yeah.
It's standard editions. So if you want a signed edition, it's on my website, serialpleasures.com. But yes, we did this together with my girlfriend, Kat,
Oh,
and she did a few. There's this guy,
yeah.
dating uh, the dating game serial killer, Rodney Alcala.
Brilliant.
He's the cook.
Why not?
That you know.
Brilliant.
So there's guys and girls. There's a little bit of everything.
No, they're amazing. I will have
Oh
to.
yes, there's this one is British. Joanna Dennehy.
Oh, wow. Yes,
Did
of course.
a few guys, and she ditched them. She disposed of them in ditches. Hence the
Wow.
title.
She literally ditched them off, literally, guys.
Yeah, exactly. She ditched them off. So yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, this is yeah. You know, I like to use black. You know, this kind of humor in my books and the
yeah.
coloring books because you know, one of the things that I like to do through the message that I have through my art and my books, the things I do. Some people that they, of course, they say, yeah, you're glorifying those criminals and etc. But my art and my books, they're a reflection on true crime as entertainment,
Yeah.
and it has become over the years pure entertainment. True crime is entertainment, and when you see that a documentary on Ted Bundy, which is a case that happened like 50 years ago, half a century ago, there's
Yeah.
still new people who are discovering the case and who are obsessed with the case, obsessed with Bundy.
Yeah.
So I really find it interesting because it tells you a lot about the society we live in and the moral questions that this poses. So my take on this is, of course, black humor,
Yeah.
but it's also a reflection on yeah, true crime as entertainment and
Yeah.
serial killers as popular culture icons, and they became that with time.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, you like yourself, your artwork and everything, and people will come across and judge that because obviously they'll see it as you're promoting, like you say, you're promoting something that is evil or bad or dark, but it's not.
Yeah, that's the simplistic way of seeing it. That's
Yeah,
the very first level way of seeing it, and I don't judge them. Usually people who think that are very simple people themselves who don't like to ask themselves a lot of questions in life. So they just, have this judgmental thing. Yeah, no, this is wrong. This is vile,
yeah,
etc. They don't try to think a little bit further,
no,
and I like to be two steps away from them. So usually those kind of people that just don't get what I'm doing, and it makes me laugh. But there's people, luckily, who actually understand what I do through my books, through my art, who totally love that,
yeah.
and who support the things that I do. And I have a lot of support, and I really appreciate the people who support the things that I do.
And rightly so, because at the end of the day, your artwork is brilliant. And why not? Why shouldn't you do what you do? Because, like with these documentaries that people put up, why should you be judged any differently than the documentary? And people will sit there and watch hours upon hours of footage, and your
You have
artwork.
to understand that most people who do or have done true crime documentaries in the past, they don't do it because they feel like that they have a moral message to give out. They just do it because of the because it sells.
Yes,
And so they're profiting from crime. Basically, they're selling their documentaries to huge platforms like Netflix, and they make millions out of it.
yes,
So they're the ones who are profiting and making big bucks out of crime and out of pain and out of suffering, and but it's morally accepted.
exactly.
So just ask yourself the real questions when you are trying to denounce the things that I do. What's moral in this? Is it what I do on my little scale, or immoral, or big companies like, those platforms who are making millions out of those cases who are 50 years old? So I don't
Exactly.
know. Yeah,
Exactly. Well, do you know what, Nico? I don't care what anyone says. I think, I support what you do. I think it's amazing. And
true.
there you go.
Thank
Who
you.
cares what the haters do? I don't care.
Haters gonna hate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. One thing I have to know is obviously again with the paranormal, I have Ouija boards myself,
Yes.
but you make your own, don't you, Nico?
Yes.
And
I don't have one ready here. Otherwise, I would have shown you the board.
yeah,
But I started doing them like 2 years ago.
yeah,
And the first board that I was asked it was not really a functional board. It was just for decoration. So the person asked me if I would be interested in creating a board like that.
yeah.
So yeah, I was totally enthusiastic because I'm really intrigued by them. I had never really used them before, so but I consider them as a great tool for reaching out and crossing, the other side.
Yeah.
Um, but then I started to include stuff that I had in my collection in the boards, like grave dirt from the
Yes.
graves of serial killers, which are extremely effective, of course. So say, for example, if in my board there's Richard Ramirez, I will take a thread from that tie, which
Wow.
is a tie that was worn by Richard Ramirez during his Los Angeles trial.
No.
So I got it through Doreen Ramirez, who was his wife. And I usually take the threads here, and
Oh
I
wow.
include them in his hair when I paint him on the board. So that's an object that belonged to him. That is, I even use that time when I was working in the morgue later in life, because I went back to the morgue after my prison time. I worked for about 13 years in several morgues in Paris. And sometimes I would wear this tie at work. So this tie has a lot of history. It belonged to Ramirez, it belonged to me. And now I use it for my Ouija board. So say, for example, a person wants Bundy, Ramirez, I don't know, Jack the Ripper, etc. I try to find, well, of course, for Jack the Ripper, I won't be able to find something that belonged to him or something, but it could be something that was taken from a murder site or the grave of one of his victims. There's several graves in the UK of the victims of Jack the Ripper. You can actually find them. So you can always find a link to that person that's on the board. So there's this YouTuber who used the board, and for example, and on the board there was Bundy, that I painted Bundy, and there was scraps from the car that he used for most of the abductions. And it's also a car where he actually killed his victims. He killed most of his victims inside his car. Yeah. So he strangled them inside the car. So I have scraps from the floor mat inside Bundy's car.
Wow.
And I included that on the board, particles of that on the board. And he actually got a 4-letter word from the board. It said Rose. And he didn't know it when he actually used the board, but Rose was the name of Bundy's daughter. And when he used the board, he found out that it was the date of her birthday.
Wow, that is incredible.
Yeah, that gives you an idea of some of the results you can have with those boards. And I'm kind of proud of this project that I'm still doing, because I still got lots of requests and people ask me to put their favorite killers in the board.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a tool that can be used for many things. Most people say, okay, if I get a board like this and I'm going to use it, of course the bad things will happen to me, and of course they think that those boards are cursed.
Yes.
And my take on this is that they're only cursed if you are afraid of what's on the board. So of course, if you are a devout Christian and you end up with one of those boards in your home, bad things will happen to you, of course.
Yeah.
That's natural. That's the way the spirit world works. But if you have an affinity with those persons who are on the board, only good things, good vibes come from them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the more that you fear something, the more you're thinking that things are happening bad around you, because it's in your head already, isn't it?
Yeah. You will. It's a magnet. Yeah.
Yeah. If you just got to go in with the right mindset, if you're going to use these boards, and be a bit more positive about them. So
exactly.
But I think, again, it's amazing with how you've collected all these items and you use them. I'm certainly interested in them, because obviously, as I say, I've got a collection of Ouija boards myself.
Cool.
And it would be amazing, and I'll definitely have to get one off you.
Thank you. Recently I did a board. I was really proud of that. I did a board for the guy who is in the Guinness World Record book.
All right, okay,
yeah. He has the biggest board in the world. It's called the Godzilla board. It's in Salem, Massachusetts. Never can pronounce that word. Massachusetts. Yeah, but yeah, it's in Salem, and he asked me specifically a board with Godzilla monsters on the board. So I was kind of proud to do that board for him. Yeah.
Oh wow! So have you, obviously making these boards yourself, have you used them And have you got anyone through that was, you know, associated with the board itself, or have you got anyone through that?
So the thing is, I haven't done it yet, but there's a reason for that. I want to do it under the right circumstance. I don't want to rush things.
No.
So it will have to be a very specific circumstance.
Yeah.
So either using it in a murder house, because I like to visit murder houses, like this Cannibal house that I know, or places like that. So the idea is to bring a board that's already charged with lots of energy and bring it to another place that's really hard, charged with energy.
Yeah.
So definitely, I'm definitely going to do that. Yeah.
So it's a bit like having a supercharge, isn't it? It's like double.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
That would be amazing.
that's the idea. Yeah, and I definitely will film it.
Yeah, and I'll definitely watch if you post it, because again, we do with paranormal investigations, as you're obviously aware.
Yes.
It's just usual stuff. You go in a house and you're obviously contacting people, and
Yeah.
but that would be epic to have, be in a scene where so much energy is already, to have these boards that are charged. You can imagine.
One of the customers that I have, she will bring the boards that I made for her to the Conjuring house.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that would be incredible.
Yeah, I want to see what happens next.
Conjuring house has got so many items in there already.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It will be interesting. Yeah.
Well, so have you got any other items to show us, Nico? Or
Not right now, because most of the things as I do things as they come. So
yeah,
they're in envelopes, etc. So
that's
I could have shown you a Ouija board, but it was already packed. Yeah.
no, that's
But yeah, I think I have everything around me that I can show you. Yeah, I think I've shown you everything that I had for tonight. Yeah.
brilliant. No, so what is next on the agenda for you going forward? Have you got any plans for the future?
In the short distance, in the near distance, I want to focus on the coloring books. So I'm gonna do more.
Yes.
We are going to do probably books that are focused on one single killer, for example, a Jeffrey Dahmer coloring book, or you know.
Yeah.
I want to do a catacombs coloring book with plenty of drawings of from the catacombs of Paris, which are
Oh yes.
could be amazing.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm also diversifying my publishing company. I am releasing an art book with other artists. So with serial pleasures, I work with a friend of mine who's a special effects artist, and he has a workshop that's called Cannibal Design, and he makes like furniture with bones and kind of like what you would find at Ed Gein's house.
Yeah.
So we're doing a book, some kind of catalog, and it will be released next week
Wow. Okay.
on my publishing company. And I'm also focusing on other artists which I collaborate with, and I'm going to publish their catalogs of art, etc. My girlfriend is releasing a cookbook,
Oh wow.
a normal cookbook, but a very good cookbook. But
Really?
we will be also working on the follow-up to the Cannibal cookbook also. But yes, we will be working on her cookbook pretty soon. And there's videos that I want to expand more my video channel. So we will be doing more videos, travel videos and graveyard videos. And talk shows, because we do that too.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do that. And yeah, this year I'm getting back at tattooing.
Wow, yes.
Yeah. So because I learned to tattoo in prison,
Yeah.
and we had very primitive things to work with. But now my girlfriend got me a proper tattoo gun, so I'm gonna train, uh, and this is something that I'm gonna do in the near future.
Oh wow, sounds amazing. You're really, really busy. You've got
Yeah.
lots of things coming up.
The thing is, I'm kind of hyperactive. I can't stay a single day just resting. I just can't. I just have to do something. So I
Yeah.
always do 3 or 4 different things during the day.
Oh wow.
Uh, so this hyperactivity, you have to understand that this is something that's never, I've never seen it in any kind of so-called profiler book or books on so-called experts on serial murder, etc. Most serial murderers are hyperactive people,
Right. Yeah.
and that's a fact. That's a fact. They're just constantly on the move. And when
Exactly.
they're not killing, they're trying to find ways of killing, or they're cruising.
Yeah.
So they all these activities, all this hyperactivity that they have, they focus it on this destructive thing. So when you choose to do the other way, to choose the other path and do something creative,
Yeah.
then then it can get really interesting in terms of creativity. And
Exactly.
that's the thing. I actually talk with all the artists that I met. They're all hyperactive, and that's a common trait to all the artists who are successful, more or less.
Okay.
And even the great artists must be like that. All the great artists, I guess, Dali was probably hyperactive. All of them, they probably were
Oh,
that way. So I definitely think there's a connection there, and there's a thing that has never been searched, and I think it would be interesting to actually to delve into that. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And that's why obviously you're keeping busy, you
yeah,
get your mind occupied and you put all your efforts into your artworks and ideas.
exactly. Yeah,
You're being creative with it.
yeah, exactly.
That's brilliant. And obviously I will look forward to what you're producing in future, and I will obviously advertise your Serial Pleasures website and everything. So everyone needs to go and check out Nico and his artwork is amazing.
Thank you, thank you.
I have one final question for you, Nico.
Yeah, sure.
Um, if you were on a desert island and you had a friend, I think you know where I'm going with
I
this.
know that. Yeah, I know the question. You're smart.
um,
Touché.
it had to be done. It had to be done. And you had no food. What
Ah,
limb? What limb would you eat of your friend?
okay. Uh, if it's not family, if he's not family, if he's family, if the person is family, I will feed the person with my own flesh. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
what a
But
gentleman.
if the yeah, it's heartwarming. It could be a rom-com actually. We should write a rom-com. Yeah, it would be a couple. They would be in a desert island, and we would have Brad Pitt and Ooh. Yeah, no, sorry,
You're
I'm
all
going
right.
sideways. No, yeah, if the person is just an acquaintance, I just kill him. No, I would slowly work my way up. First
That's
the feet, and slowly go up.
that's fair enough. You gotta
Yeah,
make it last, you see. You've got last, haven't you? So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. They have to live for a while because if you kill the person right now, it will only last a few weeks and then it's over. So you have to, you know,
I had to ask that question. I'm sorry.
it's a good question.
Yeah. So have you got any final words for us, Nico, from Paris?
Oh, thank you for the interview. It was really cool. Really cool. Nice chat. And yeah, if you want to commission art
Yes.
or just check my website, there's also t-shirts. So there's for all budgets. This is a thing that I've always tried to do with this thing, with this company that I created. I want to have all kinds of budgets on that company. It can be like stuff that costs like 10 quids, or higher stuff, or Murderabilia that's a bit more expensive, of course. But there's for all budgets and all kinds of tastes. Bad taste usually, but bad taste is good taste. So
Exactly, it's different. Why not?
yeah, exactly. But yes, there's quite a lot of different things. There's t-shirts and even adult toys. This is actually how I started the thing with the world famous bun dildo.
Wow.
So
There you
yeah.
go, ladies.
So yeah, but yeah, no, there's lots of different things, and I also do commission art and the skulls like this and the Ouija boards.
That is
So
incredible.
thank you.
No, wow. So definitely everyone go and check out Nico's work and get buy-in, because it's amazing. What can I say?
Thank you.
And I have enjoyed speaking to you so much. I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time. So thank you for taking the time to speak to Spectral tonight.
Welcome.
And would you consider doing another interview in the future with us, Nico?
Yeah, sure. When it's going well like this, always.
Brilliant. Well, you take care of yourself, and thank
You too.
so much for joining me tonight. And I look forward to seeing what you produce in the future.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yes.